All right, welcome back to another episode of the Shed Geek Podcast, and we are here today in I would say sunny South Carolina, but I don't think it has been all week. But we're here at the Garage Shed Carport Builder show in where are we? Greenville, South Carolina. Yeah, a lot of fun, and got to hang out with you guys yesterday over at the RTO National event, and it seemed like a lot of fun to just kind of chit chat. But introduce yourself. Let's get you on here. Who are you guys? What do you do?
Sure. I'm Peter Miller. I run Miller Sheds in Dalton, Georgia.
Okay.
I'm Peter Boyle. I run Crossroads Sheds in Acadia, Florida.
Awesome. And you guys have it's kind of an interesting model. So me and Peter, this is weird because I have both of you are named Peter. So we're gonna have to be like
Miller and Boyle.
Yeah. Peter Miller. Yeah, I start calling you by your last names like we're in the military or something. So Miller, we've been talking for a while. Dalton, Georgia, capital. What is it? The carpet capital of the world, a flooring capital of the world.
That's right. It's flooring capital. It's everything from artificial turf to carpet to LVP, all you name it.
So just south of Chattanooga. Excuse me, and north of Atlanta there. We've been talking about getting a podcast together for a little bit. It just hasn't worked out. And here we are in the same spot. But then you introduced me to Peter Boyle. And that's kind of how you guys got started, was down in Florida, right? And
that's
then
right.
You moved in. So tell me a little bit about your story and how you came to know the shed industry.
Sure. It was back in 2013. I started at Crossroads Sheds, and at that time, Peter's brothers actually owned it, Gary and Andrew.
Okay.
And it was like being thrown into the fire, sink or swim. Here's a catalog showing what the shed prices were. Here's a pamphlet showing carport prices. And here's a 3-piece paper for writing the orders up. Send those in, and we started selling sheds. It was definitely a new experience for me. I'd worked in sales a little bit before that, but nothing quite like shed sales or carpet sales.
It's different, right? Totally different world when you get into shed sales versus any other sales, really, what I've noticed. Mr. Boyle.
Yes.
How about yourself?
So I was in the furniture business. Did that for about 10 years. And my brothers were also in the furniture business, but had started the shed business on the side. And we kind of switched. They took over the furniture business, and I took over the shed and inherited Peter Miller. It may not have been the best thing, but...
Well, I understand. I've been there.
Yeah.
I get it. But it seems like it's working out really good now. I mean, it sounds like you guys are even expanding into different areas. So what I like, and we got to sit at the Copper, what was it, the Copper River Grill last night,
Yep.
kind of hang out with a bunch of folks who kind of have a passion about shed selling and the shed industry and things like that. One thing that caught my attention whenever we talked was that you guys do a little bit different of a model. There's so many different models out there, from consignment to wholesale to floor planning. I still have this cough, and it's so frustrating at this point. So please forgive me, audience. I like the model that you guys have. I really feel like you put a little bit more skin in the game in some ways when you do this, but do you think it makes you a sharper salesperson when you have that accountability there, to purchase more sheds or to, that's my thought, but I'm curious at yours.
I would say when you have so much money into your inventory, it definitely makes it, you look at the numbers a little bit better. Yeah, the overall outcome, when you own your inventory, you can mark your price differently than like a consignment or something like that. But when you own your inventory, you look at it and you say, okay, our sales are down. You're keeping a closer track on it, I would say. And in the consignment world, somebody's providing you a shed and you're just getting a straight commission off of that consignment, so you don't have as much skin in the game there.
Does it create like a sense of urgency to say, I'm looking at the end of this month and, we need to sell? And,
sales all the time. Well, not all the time, but when you're running into that Christmas time, I'll say in Georgia we had a really rough December.
Yeah.
And it was coming, right there before Christmas. Looking at our numbers, man, we got to sell some sheds here. And I'm looking across, we have multiple competitors around, and I'm starting to drive around looking at theirs. What's our prices? Have they dropped their prices like overnight and we're now way higher? What's the reason for this?
Yeah.
It goes back into that marketing side of it too. I mean, made sure we have a quality product. We've been told by our customers who shop as well. They're coming in, they're saying, hey, we looked at this building over here, and everybody's going to have a different opinion on, what you sell, but they'll say, we like how you have, 16-inch on center and 3/4 inch pressure treated plywood. Those are some of the things that you don't have the OSB board where it looks like it's going to expand, and there's a lot of those things they'll look at it. But then it goes back to that marketing side. Like, okay, we're going to say we need to sell X amount of sheds by this time, because there's skin in the game is there, and it's getting crunch time.
What do you guys think, Peter? I would say, what do you think is kind of like your thoughts on product knowledge for the salesperson? Where do you place that in terms of importance daily as you're going in? Is this, a lot of people focus on price, a lot of people focus on the product, a lot of people focus on the quality. What do you feel like reaches the audience the most? Do you think it's product knowledge or information?
I feel like it's like a mixture of all of it, of course, but definitely there's you've got to know your product.
Yeah.
If you don't know your product, they can tell. And if you start bluffing that you think you know something and they know you don't, it never works out well. But it is pretty high up there to know what you're selling, what your competitor sells versus what you sell.
Yeah.
Because they're going to go there next if they shop you.
How do you think the customer gets educated? How do you think they research or know more about sheds?
There's not a whole lot, it seems to me, like on the internet. So when they search it, there's not a whole lot of information. So it would be going into a shed lot, speaking to a sales rep, them walking out in the lot, showing them the sheds, showing them how our sheds are made, and the value there.
Do you guys approach this used to be a common debate among folks that we just talk to regularly. Do you guys approach every shed customer that comes on to make sure they have the information, or do you wait and let the customer approach you so that you don't seem like you're bothering them? What's kind of your thoughts on that?
We definitely want to be the first one out there.
Okay.
Now, getting the salespeople to do it, that's a different story. But, we're constantly on them. You got to be out there. You got to stay with them. Don't come back in saying, oh, they're just looking. They're not just looking. They're buying. But I don't know about what you think, Peter.
Yeah, I would say it's definitely a struggle, and keeping that motivation up. It's so easy for a customer to walk in and say, that's their words out of their mouth, I'm just looking.
Yep. Yeah.
My response to that is like, okay, that's great. Is there any size particular looking for? Are you putting the lawnmower in? And you kind of just deflect that off. And you're not being rude to the person, but you're basically saying, I know you don't want to be attacked by a salesperson.
Right.
But I'm not going to be annoying to you. I'm going to answer your questions. I'm not going to pressure you to buy the building, but I'm going to provide a knowledgeable experience for you to be here. And by the end of the experience, you're going to come back and you can say, okay, I'm either going to buy this or I'm not. But follow-up is huge in my opinion. You have that person, I need to go home and talk to my wife. I need to go talk to my husband, whatever it may be. And it gets lost in the cracks if you don't write down that information and follow up, because they walk out that door the next day, they're not really thinking about it very much. And so closing a sale, if they walk out the door, your percentage dropped drastically.
What's the key to closing?
Key to closing, I would say, is a lot of it is persistence. Because if you're not going to ask for the sale, and I guess that's two parts there, but asking for the sale, so many people never ask for it. You just educated them on a 12 by 24 shed, with a garage door and how it's going to work great for them. And they say, oh, that's great. And you never just said, hey, what do you think about buying this today? Or would you like to buy that with a credit card? We have financing options. We have rent-to-own options. Yeah. Hey, we do 6 months, same as cash. How about that? You know, you're going to pay this off at tax time. Anything like that is going to be helpful or a tool to be able to do that. I was told early in my selling career in sheds was there's the 3 Ps. It's the person, the price, or the product. So there's 3 things you have to decide or determine if they're not buying. Is it you, the person? Is it the price of the building or the product? Or is it the product itself? They don't like something about it. And it's you shoot those 3 things down, and then at that point, persistence.
Hello, Shed Builder. With each new year, builders are searching for ways to increase efficiency and safety. Simply put, the Joey Pivot Lift is an investment into your building crew and your bottom dollar. Manufacturers are able to save hours and dollars by making painting, decking, and roofing a safer and quicker process. The Joey Pivot Lift turns 360 degrees inside of a 50-inch radius and lasts an average 8-hour workday before needing charged. It has a minimum platform height of 61.5 inches, allowing you to reach into areas with ease versus the traditionally used 6-foot ladder. No tripping or falling hazards exist, and no need to climb down and restock. For roofers, simply load your metal on the lift prior to getting started and throw your roofing screws into the built-in tool tray. Pricing is just $8,295 for the 60 series, $9,685 for the 70 series, and $10,675 for the roofing model. For exact pricing that includes tax and delivery to your door, contact the Shed Geek at info@shedgeek.com or dial 618-309-3648. We're raising building standards with Joey Pivot Lift.
So how do you guys handle things like what we saw a few years ago where things really started to go, we started seeing like a shortage in terms of supplies and things like that. And then we saw pricing increases because of supply demands and things like that. Because what you guys, you don't manufacture sheds. You sell sheds. You are professional shed sellers. That's what you guys do. You don't control the flow of the supply. So for you, it's important to say, hey, I need to make sure I have enough inventory on here. You know, you're trying to do something more than just be, oh, I'll sell you a shed every now and then. Like I say, you're professional shed sellers, and I admire guys like that in this industry who do that, because I think that you take your craft very serious. What do you guys do when you see a price increase and you're kind of limited on being able to control the flow of material, but not price? You still have to buy these sheds, right? So what do you do?
Well, sometimes it's tightening the belt. You know, so the shed may go up in price. You look at your margins. You know, it's a little different than consignment. With consignment, it's like, hey, you're going to sell it at whatever it is, 10%, 12%. That's what you're going to make off this. Well, when you mark it up, you may say, hey, for this time we may eat it as the dealer. We may eat that price increase just so that we can be in the market. But I think that's where it goes back to being involved in your competition. You know, I think competition is great because it keeps you sharp in what you're doing. If you're just going to be an order taker and somebody's going to walk in and you say, yeah, that's the one, and write it down, you're in it until the times get hard. It's what a true salesman will be able to sell and not just take the order.
That's a good word. Peter Boyle. What's the difference in an order taker and a salesperson?
It's about, product knowledge and being able to close. Be personable. The order taker, is going to be the cashier at Walmart just ringing it up.
Yeah.
Your salesperson is going to walk out there, meet with them, show them your product, have that product knowledge. And, starting to close while you're on the lot is key. While you're on the lot, you're figuring out, are they a cash customer, are they finance, are they a rent-to-own? Well, that way when you sit down, you're not having to figure all that out.
Yeah.
You've already figured out these people are paying cash.
Yeah.
When you go in, You don't have to offer the financing or that unless you want to do the 6 months same as cash.
Yeah.
But you have to pre-qualify that customer. When you're out there walking around, figuring out what they need, what they want. But it's product knowledge, personable, and be able to close the deal.
What do you guys? What size do you sell the most? What do you think?
10, 16.
10, 12, 10, 16, something like that.
Still the most common. I think a lot of people kind of refer to a 10 by 16 as the common, even to base pricing and things like that off of. What's some of the challenges you find as in your position as a professional shed seller? What are the things that you seek to overcome? Where do you go to find motivation or knowledge to overcome those things? That's an equal question for both of you. I'd love to hear both of your thoughts on that.
All right, say that again, and I'll try to wrap my brain around it and answer.
So what are the challenges really day to day in sales that you see, and then where do you find a way to overcome that?
I think in the way I look at it now, it was a little different when I was in the sales and doing the sales all the time myself. Where in the position I'm at, I'm not in that day-to-day sales.
Okay.
So what the challenges that I have is keeping staff motivated.
Okay. Interesting.
Because if you have somebody who walks in, and I know this is something that when I started, I worked for Peter Boyle, and I'm just going to take a little break here.
Yeah,
when I started working, I had been working in shed sales and such, and there's a whole different mindset when you're a salesperson.
Okay.
And then when you own a shed lot and you have people working for you who do sales. It's that simple question of, hey, what happened with that customer there? Oh, they were just looking. They weren't just looking. They were here. They took time out of their day. They stopped and did those things. So those challenges that I would say that we face now is keeping them motivated. And I think showing them that, hey, you have all these options with the marketing that's going on right now, whether it's Facebook, Google, whether it's Shed Hub, Shed, any of these different ones along the line, they're giving you so many tools to say, here's these customers looking. They gave you a name, they gave you an address, they gave you a phone number. And sometimes they even gave you what they want in a shed, all the way down to color, porch, windows, all those things. It's like gift wrapping it to you. And then taking that and saying to your sales employees, hey, take this and follow up with it. Closing ratio should be somewhere around 1 out of every 3.
Okay.
So that was one of the things that I'm so glad I had that opportunity as a salesperson. Just in that, is I had a closing ratio sheet, and what I did is every time somebody would walk in the door, I'd put a little check mark, and at the end of the day, look through that check mark and how many sales did you have in that day? Yeah. And so, it may not be in the first 9 customers, but after those 9 customers, you should know that you should be getting 3 sales by the time you hit 12 customers. And I know that 1 to 3 ratio, you take it over the whole month and such, but that almost gives you motivation there. Say, hey, this is the national average across the board that every 3rd person that walks through here is buying. And I think that closing ratio should possibly be even higher if you're a good salesperson, because then you're going to follow up with them. You're going to educate them. You're going to build that relationship. Trust starts at the moment they walk through that door. There was the owner of Superior Sheds, or one of the owners of Superior Sheds down in Orange City, Florida, was Alex Martins, and he was my mentor in the beginning of sales. And he would bring every month or 2 a notebook, and he had a sales cycle. It was a circle, and it showed here's where the customer walks in. Then you start with those small questions, and you start getting yeses. Whether it is, are you here to look at a shed? Yes. Are you going to fit this in your backyard? Yes. And you work all the ways around to that very last, yes, I'm going to buy the shed. But instead of asking, do you want to buy the shed, you assume that they're going to buy the shed, and you start writing that paperwork.
I like that.
Simple things like that helped in the very beginning, and now I look at it, and I do say, when you're a salesperson, I love all of our salespeople. They're phenomenal people, but that motivation across the board is the owner or the person talking to them. We want to work this. So I know that was a long answer.
No, that's fine.
Back to the
I love the well thought. Like, I kind of feel like you got in your element there for a minute and forgot you was on a podcast.
I like to
and
talk.
That's good. That's good.
My wife says like.
Hey guys, this is the Shed Geek, and I'm here to tell you about the latest in financial innovation to hit the shed industry. It's a program called Backyard Finance. Everywhere I go, shed manufacturers and shed sellers are always asking, how can I get a better payment option for my customer? At Backyard Finance, they're making this a reality. You might be asking, how do I sign up? Simple, just go to Backyard Finance, click on the Get Started Now button, and create an account. After that, you'll have 200 plus banks competing to give your customer the best financial terms possible. With Backyard Finance, you can service your customers two ways: direct to customer lending or direct to merchant lending. With direct to merchant lending, simply fill out an application. It takes about 2 to 4 weeks to process that application, but it'll allow you a variety of financing options to make you a more competitive retailer. With FICO scores as low as 500, 600, or 700 plus, your customers will receive financing options with APRs as low as 2.99% or as high as 29.99%. Credit applications are approved in just 15 to 45 seconds. To know more, contact Backyard Finance at 833-692-2286 or email info@backyardfinance.com today. Backyard Finance, funding backyard dreams.
Anyways, that would be the hardest challenge, is keeping people motivated to always do the same thing over and over.
Yeah.
And once the sales process is there, complete it.
What are your thoughts, Peter? Like, what motivates you? What keeps you? What's the challenges you face?
I mean, what motivates me is, the challenges of the business. Always keeping on top of everything. But the challenges obviously is keeping people motivated, and then also trying to figure out advertising. It's
okay.
What's working, what's not working.
How do you measure it?
Exactly? How do you measure advertising? It's so hard.
Yeah.
How did they hear about us? Why are they here? Is it because they saw us on Facebook? 3 months ago, and now they need a shed? It's always trying to figure out. Do I push more money to Google? Do I push more money to Facebook? Do I local advertise? Those are always challenges too that it seems like we don't have exactly nailed down every time. We think we have it nailed down, and then sales start to drift, and you're like, well, maybe we need to adjust something.
Well, and maybe what you did last week didn't work for this week, right? Or it's a different time of year, or the economy's in a different place. And there's a lot of dynamics that go into trying to perfect that. I've said many times, like, what's the, I'm going to butcher it, but there's a famous quote that says half your marketing dollars work. Nobody knows which half.
Right.
I've had people before say, well, I've had advertisements on the Shed Geek podcast. We have advertised different companies and partners on here. Well, how do you know when it's working? And I'm like, it's the biggest struggle of anybody is trying to determine where each dollar spent created value or created some kind of. Are you going with marketing? Are you going for the sale, which you guys are? Or are you going for? Why does Coca-Cola market? They're not trying to bring awareness to their product. They're trying to maintain top of mind for anybody who wants a Coke. When you want to grab a soda, they want you thinking Coke, not Pepsi. So that's why they advertise. But for someone who is unfounded yet and they're not known, they got to bring awareness to their product. So you're trying to bring awareness to your local community for a sale. You're trying to sell something. So you have a tall task ahead of you to try and figure out, how do we nail down? And if you get it wrong, you're like, we just blew the budget. And didn't see sales. So did we make a mistake, or should we look at some other criteria as to why that happened? For instance, inflation went up, and then all of a sudden they're talking about, the economy strain again. Is that what I'm seeing? Jeffrey Gitomer, Little Red Book of Sales, It was Trenton Burnett that turned me onto this book years ago at Easy Portable. I've read that book a couple of different times, and he says celebrate your effort and not your success. So if you put in the same amount of effort last week and got 6 sales, and then you did the same amount of effort this week and got 2, you shouldn't beat yourself up saying, oh no, I didn't get the sale. What did I do wrong? It's, you might get 12 sales the following week with the same effort.
Kind of goes back to that 1-to-3 ratio. It may not be in the first 9 customers.
Yeah.
It may be in the 24 customers. It just takes some time to get to it.
What's some of the advice that you would give to a young person or a young person in the industry just trying to learn more about shed sales? What would you do different?
I'll let you go first on that one.
Go for it.
I mean, obviously, you get the basic, product knowledge, learn how to sell. So, I mean, I'm a big person that goes on YouTube. That's where I learn a lot.
Okay.
So that's where I would go to learn.
Resources, right? Trying to get information. What do you look for in that? Do you look for sales personalities that give advice that, what's sort of your thought when you go on YouTube? Are you like, hey, I want motivational people, I want...
Depends on the day, but yeah, both.
Yeah.
So yeah, just, I guess both. It just depends on the day, I like when I'm driving, our lots are about an hour away. So when I drive, I'm always on YouTube or a podcast or something.
Yeah.
I'm always...
I
never listen to the radio.
You like to have your mind fed constantly with... there was Ray Kroc from McDonald's talked a lot about that early on, about how he was a traveling salesman with ice cream machines, like shake machines.
Okay.
And he would listen to these motivational speeches over and over and over, and these sales, and then it's like it eventually just got through, and he realized, sometimes you go outside the norm to get the sale, and it's really good story. What's some of the wildest things that you guys have seen in sheds? Like, what customer experiences? What's the things that surprise you the most, and you're like, I didn't think that would happen, or the highlight of your day, the topic of your day, crazy customers or fun customers, or
I would say it goes back to a lot of times repos, and then
sure,
we had one customer come into our office and got to the point where he was getting up in our salesperson's face, and he's like, you can leave now or we'll call the police. So those are, you don't want that to happen.
No, right.
But that does rarely happen, but it has happened.
Yeah.
I just thought of something, and then Peter I was not there for this, but they were going to do a shed move, and I think they were out until 2 o'clock in the morning trying to move a shed, and that's pretty crazy. I was at home in bed, so.
Yeah, the shed moves, getting stuck, stuff like that. That's always been. I think that one what he's talking about was we were doing a double wide move.
Okay.
And I think it took. He had this long yard, and it was out in the woods, and it was a distance just to move it. But then we had to get it back in there. We kept getting stuck. I think it was 2 days, and both days we were out till like 2 in the morning or something like that. It was. It was fun.
Yeah, but it's
After it was done.
different side of what you expected when you probably got into shed sales and just didn't know that was going to happen. And I was kind of surprised at how many people didn't pay their bill. Even if we struggled, we always paid our bills. So it was very rare to me whenever I would find that people wouldn't openly pay. We would struggle, do whatever you had to do to make it happen. And, maybe those folks are, but that kind of surprised me more than anything in terms of payment customers. Where do you guys see it going? You are professional shed sellers. You guys buy and you're buying sheds from manufacturers. You're selling them. The economy's, always on the brink of a recession is what we hear. how do you prepare for that? What are you guys planning for 2023?
ShedHub.com is the shed industry's very first two-sided marketplace that allows you, the shed seller, to list your inventory on a site specifically designed for selling sheds. ShedHub establishes more qualified sales leads and helps your customers find you with a simple online search. Shoppers searching where to buy sheds and sheds near me have grown by 200% in the last 2 years. This means even if the buyer wants to visit a sales lot to purchase a shed, their shed buying journey started with a simple Google search. They can actually check out and purchase the shed straight from ShedHub if they prefer to shop online. ShedHub does not charge any commission for sheds you sell. We simply charge the monthly subscription. Your sales commission is still yours to keep. Sheds listed on ShedHub will have first page search results in 91% of cities, or where to buy sheds is searched. For special pricing only available through Shed Geek, simply go to geek.shedhub.com to see the promo codes that allow you to save as much as 50% off the first 12 months of your subscription, and over 75% for companies with multiple sales locations. Sell more sheds using shedhub.com.
I mean, that is a good question. But
That's why they give me the big money over here, Peter.
If I had a crystal ball or something to tell you the future, I mean,
it would be nice, wouldn't it?
you prepare by being economically sound in what you have, right? So we try to keep all of our product on our lot as much as possible as it's ours. We don't have to, you have a huge amount of assets on your property, and this goes back. You just asked about difficulties. I should have said Hurricane Ian, because we had Hurricane Ian come through, and that's just. But assets, you have 40 sheds, 50 sheds on each lot, and depending on the size of the lot, and there's $250,000, $300,000 worth of inventory sitting there.
Yeah.
So as long as you can control it by owning that, and then if the economy turns, it goes right back to where we talked about tightening the belt. Okay, so you're not going to make $100, now you're going to make $70. Or you're going to make $50, but you're still paying your bills. It goes back to that, we pay our bills.
Yeah.
It may be a tight time along those ways. I think looking at the way the economy is, things are getting more expensive. I mean, you don't want to have a egg sandwich anymore because it's so expensive.
The price of eggs is it's wild, isn't it?
So chicken coops may be a great idea to get into. I don't know.
Yeah.
I things along those. But back to the how do you prepare for the economy? You keep a close eye on it, because if you're not, then COVID came and no one knew what to expect there.
Yeah.
So money was flying around like crazy. We had more buyers than we had product, and then we're starting to outsource. Like, where can I get sheds? Start calling around. Will you send me sheds? Oh yeah, I can send you one load in 2 weeks. Okay, and then call another manufacturer. I'll get you a load in 3 weeks. Okay, so I got back-to-back loads, and then you start trying to take those orders and hold it. So in those times, you build up, and you save, you be frugal, I guess is the right word. And that you don't just blow your money. So that's when the rainy day comes. You need to have that ability to wait for the sunshine to come again.
You think we'll have an up year this year?
I don't think so.
No?
I think we'll have an okay year, but I don't think it's going to be.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be more like not a 2019, but probably like a 2015.
Yeah.
I would say something like that. So we saw an immediate turn, not making it political, but when Donald Trump won the election in November of 2016, we immediately saw a change in our sales. I mean, it wasn't like 6 months later, it was immediate. We started seeing people buying, and it wasn't just in shed, it was in carport and steel structures. People, overall, their whole outlook on everything turned. Now, money started flowing from the 2016 to 2020.
Yeah.
And then, of course, COVID hits, and then you have the government giving out money, and then it's even crazier. And now inflation is hitting. Eggs are, $6, $7?
I've seen $9 for a dozen.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you have that where you're used to paying, $1.80, $2.20, something like that. that's across the board. So yeah, the tightening the belt across America is going to either, I think what it's going to do, it's going to make people either move in with family, and then they're going to take that shed and they're going to turn it into an extra bedroom in the backyard. So I don't know if it's necessarily going to hurt, but then you're going to have that person who has it, and you know what, that's an extra bill I can just do away with. So it depends on how you market it, I think, is huge there too, because if you take that opportunity, you say, you know what, people are moving in with each other. They now have, instead of one family, they have two families, and now they have kids. And the son works from home and he needs an office out back. Well, hey, let's put you a 10 by 14. We'll get it back there. You can work from home. That's another thing that COVID came across. So many people.
I was going to ask you if you saw an increase, like in backyard offices and things like that, over the last few years. I feel like that's something that I hear in my travels quite often. Larger sheds. Are you guys seeing larger sheds moving?
Have you ever had a customer ask you about how to supply power to their shed? Do you sell electrical kits as an upsell for your sheds currently? Do you want an easy, no-hassle option to offer for your customers when they want to add electric to their sheds? Check out EcoEthics Solar. EcoEthics Solar is looking for shed manufacturers and shed dealers who want to be able to provide a solar electric option to their line of sheds. With EcoEthics Solar, you can purchase the SunSaver, a solar product specifically designed with the shed owner in mind. Want to offer a larger product that can operate a full tiny home? At EcoEthics Solar, they have the necessary product, training, and capacity to meet your customers' needs. Installation for the SunSaver is simple and takes just 45 minutes. You can even install it right there on your sales lot or at the manufacturing facility. EcoEthics Solar even provides hands-on in-person training if necessary. Plus, they will provide you with video tutorials and handouts with specific installation instructions that keeps adding a solar-powered electrical system to your shed fast and simple. In many cases, the end user can even perform the installation once the shed is delivered to their home. If you are interested in purchasing a unit for display and then drop shipping your orders, or even ordering multiple units to have available as you build, contact my friends at EcoEthics Solar at 336-250-1284 or email sales@ecoethicsolar.com.
Or requested, or
I can think of one right off. There was a lady who came in and bought a 10 by 10. It wasn't a large shed, but all she was doing is working for a credit card company, taking calls from people who had complaints. So she had it delivered to her backyard. She wanted to make sure she didn't have a window behind her because I guess she was on a video conference call or something along those lines whenever she needed to. So she bought a little 10 by 10 shed. So that's one instance. I know there's others. I just can't point those out. That comes right to mind.
How do you guys sell? We sell storage. Like, that's what we do, right? We sell storage. We sell space for your stuff. Who's the competition? If the competition's not other shed manufacturers and shed dealers, who is the shed competitor?
That would be like your self-storage, I believe. Your self-storage. But, there's not a lot of value in there. It's off-site. You got to drive there to get there. There's typically some will have hours that you can't go. And it's generally more expensive than buying one of our sheds through financing or something.
How would you explain that to the customer, Peter, that it's more expensive than purchasing a shed from you?
Right, you can just go on their website. Show down to type in the storage facility near you. A lot of them have their pricing right on their website. And just say, hey, you're looking for a 10 by 10, and a lot of them, their ceilings are lower than our sheds, and so you get, it's the same size, but height-wise, you can put a loft in it, and now you actually have more space.
Yeah.
But cheaper, and it's in your backyard, and one day you own it.
There you go. I was definitely wanting to talk to you about the path of ownership. Do you guys express that to your customers? Is that, if you rent a storage unit, it is 100% rent with no path to ownership.
Right.
Versus renting a shed that has a path that will lead you to ownership if you make your payments. And I don't think a lot of people really understand that you're going to own this shed, that you're not buying it on traditional, unless of course you're using a traditional loan or actual financing in some capacity. You're renting it, and then they're giving it to you. It's essentially like taking one of those storage units and extracting it and bringing it right to your backyard and saying, oh, instead of just staying here for 5 years and paying on this, you pay on this for 5 years or 3 years, and we're going to let you keep it. And look at the amazing quality and the products that exist from it. I've just always felt like that was the way to sell, rent to own.
I would go back to convenience as well. If you have to drive even 5 minutes from your house to a storage lot, it gets to be old. I sold a building to a guy who kept lawn equipment in a storage locker.
Wow.
And it was like, why are you doing that? Because you can keep it in your backyard. And that ownership is huge. I mean, you look at a monthly payment of a storage locker and you look at a monthly payment on a shed. Sometimes the shed is more expensive per month, but you can use the tools that are given to you as far as maybe it's not a 36-month contract, maybe it's a 48. And at times you can even take that out to a 60-month contract. And so, you're paying a little bit more, but guess what? You're not driving 5 minutes there, 5 minutes back, and then you forgot something. You forgot the key at home. You got to turn around and go back and get the key.
Well, it's dangerous sometimes. You don't want to. A lot of guys don't want to send their wife down, and I'm at work. Go get this. You need this from the storage unit. It's not well lit. There's things that cross your mind that make you think, hey, having this in my backyard is so much more convenient. And we do pay for convenience, right? It's similar to the guy who says, and I know y'all have heard it, I could build it cheaper myself, right? Of course you can. I don't know if you can because, of course we're getting this lumber in bulk, and that's a little different than your Lowe's price. And, what about when you lose a bit and you got to run to the store? Are you counting that time? Are you counting the time away from your family? Rather than argue with them, it's like saying, well, I could cook. I used to say, well, I could cook all of my own meals too. But the convenience to actually go out to eat is valuable sometimes so that I can spend time with my family talking, or a business associate and having a conversation. So, man, I love it. Just curious, really, I guess my thoughts, all of my overarching thoughts that really kind of come to mind are, you want to keep doing this. You want to be do you want to be a shed sales professional and grow that as far as you can, as big as you can? I do want to touch on something. I'll come back to it, but go ahead with that.
I would say yes. I mean, we look to expand. We have Miller Sheds in Georgia. We have Crossroads Sheds in Acadia, Florida. But that's not all we have. We have locations. We have Iguana Sheds in Fort Myers. We have Iguana Sheds in Sebring, Florida. We have a lot in Bowling Green, Florida. We're looking to expand not just in Florida, but Georgia. And then we look at that and we say expansion is basically taking what you've created, duplicating it, and putting it over here. And sometimes it doesn't always work the same because your demographics, your people are a little bit different. But if it's a working model and you put it over here, you can tweak it to make that work. So yes, we look to grow that shed sales. I mean, I have 3 boys. They're twins, is Lucas and Logan. They're going to be 2 here in February on Valentine's Day.
That's awesome.
And then I have James. He's going to be 3 in March. And I look down the road. That's going to be the future of the business and my side of it. And Peter has, he has kids as well.
Yeah, I got twin boys as well.
Do you really? No way. Both of you guys' name are Peter.
Yep.
Both of you guys have twin boys.
Yep.
That's cool. No, I agree with you. Expanding and scaling, and you have a lot of shed manufacturers out here who don't care about the sales part. They don't care about the sales aspect of it. They just want to build sheds, and you guys want to sell sheds. It's a perfect marriage, So for you guys to have that opportunity to expand into other areas is great. I took a mental note, and it took me a while to get back to it, of something you said earlier that I passed on. This cough will be the death of me, I swear. When you were good in sales, you're moving sales, but whether you're good or not, you're changing roles and you're managing people now instead of selling sheds. Still sort of a similar concept because you're trying to manage the people through a sale versus manage the people but in your office. But I've often said, and I've heard so many other people say it at times too, a lot of the things that mistakes that people make is they'll take a dynamite salesperson, a number one top performing salesperson, and they'll say, you know what we need to do with them? We need to make them the sales manager. We need to put them in charge of things. I've heard so many people say that doesn't work because that top performing salesperson still wants to keep selling once they're there.
Right.
And you house different strengths. Even if you're not the number one salesperson, you might house a strength that is managing people, but not top performing sales. If you're top performing sales, you might have that little bit of that rough edge, that competitive edge that allows you to beat out your competition even if they're friendly. And you don't have that now when you're trying to teach them what makes you a really good salesperson. I think sales managers, company owners or whatever you want to call it, they often make that mistake of taking their high-performing salesperson and, now they're in this different role where they're managing people. What they'd rather be doing is selling. But just kind of wanted to touch on that. I remember I listen to a lot of sales podcasts. I'm in a lot of like sales groups. And while I love every part of the industry, sales is where I spent most of my time. So I gravitate toward what people are talking about in sales because all people in this industry are extremely important, from the manufacturer to the delivery, the products, the services, and all of it. Nothing happens without a sale. Without a sale, we can't build more. Without a sale, we can't deliver something. Without a sale, we can't order more material. So it's so important, and yet it's so underdeveloped in some ways in our industry, in my opinion. So having you guys on the show, that's awesome. Tell me, you touched on it. Give the audience a little bit personal about who you are. What's sort of your life outside of sheds?
Yeah, so I'm married, and I've got 2 girls with twin boys.
Okay.
We are very active in our church.
Awesome.
We go 3 times a week, whenever the doors are open, I should say. But that's kind of work and church is kind of our life. We don't have a lot of hobbies or stuff like that. We don't have time for it.
Yeah.
Our hobby is, work and church.
Yeah.
That's about it.
No, I understand that. Peter?
I would very, very similar to that. I would say the hobby is probably getting away on a business trip. Going to a Shed Expo. My wife says I don't go on business trips. I go on pleasure trips.
You know, right?
It's like an actual night of sleep all the way through. But no, I'm married to my wife Jessica. She works with me. She actually. Backstory, she worked with me in Crossroads back at the very beginning when I was in sales. And I started, like I said, in 2013. I'm going to guess it was a year or 2 later, somewhere right around there. She got brought in, and she was a sales under me. So I was upper, I had superiority because I was there by seniority. Well, she can outsell me. She is the epitome of organized. I mean, she has it down. She does a great job at that, and she's been a huge help to me and to our business because she does our bookkeeping, and we always tease her. We forgot our paperwork off of Monsters Incorporated. She keeps us in line on that. She does tremendous. But back to the story, she had come in there, and it wasn't but probably 4 months, and she got turned into the manager, and I was the salesperson now. And that hit hard. You would have never thought we would have gotten married after that. But lo and behold,
losing gracefully is okay.
Right.
You're winning now. You won the girl, and she's selling, and you get to work together, and all turned out well. For God still knows what He's doing sometimes, doesn't He?
Absolutely.
All the time. He knows what He's doing all the time.
All the time.
We just have to be convinced, don't we?
So that's, like I said, we love our church there. It was kind of hard. We were so active in our church down in Florida, and then we moved up there, and then you go into a new church, and it's like, that's a whole nother topic, and I know it's not sheds or anything like that, but we found our church home. We love our church home, and being able to, I know in the shed industry there's so many people who are believers, and they've shaped their business model off of that. You know, we're not in it to rip people off. We're in it to make a profit, but we're not in there to be that customer's worst nightmare. We're there so that they're going to come back, you know, whenever they need another shed, or when they need a carport, or when they want to recommend it to a friend. We're going to be that person.
You're serving people is what you're doing, and you're serving people through your career, through your, you know, what God's put you in charge of in terms of a way to provide. But you still serve in every capacity. I remember that's what I love about doing this podcast is I don't shy away from being a believer and shy away from faith. And if the conversation goes that direction, I think a lot of people appreciate that and welcome that. And it's just maybe more needed in our industry. We saw where a football player recently on Monday Night Football went down, and you saw a nation, pray for a young man. You started to see, ESPN live prayers. And somebody said we everybody owes Tim Tebow an apology after that, but it's so interesting, and I think that's welcome, and I think it's part of who a lot of people are, and I don't think that we always have to dance around the PC bubble to do that. With that being said, I'm full of imperfections in many ways too, right? Aren't we all? And so I love that part of the podcast as well too. It feels very very much like a ministry to talk about work and to talk about your faith and family. And this is an industry that's very full of all of those faith and family. So, guys, I've enjoyed having you on the show. I've looked forward to this for some time now. We're starting to get to where there's several of these shows in the queue, so it may take a bit to get edited and get it out. I want the audience to know we're always trying to do our best to find folks like yourself that are shed dealers, professional shed dealers at performing at this wholesale model, but then also a consignment dealer, and get their thoughts on it, right? And haulers, and manufacturing and products and services. And sometimes we get heavy on one and not the other. Encourage everyone to go to shedgeek.com. If you haven't, sign up for the weekly newsletter that goes out, email blast that goes out every Wednesday. It has the audio episode embedded into that, as well as a video episode, and encourage you to help me out. I'm begging you to go on and subscribe to the Shed Geek YouTube channel. Appreciate you guys helping get that subscriber account up, and I appreciate all of your advice, and really it's just a thank you today is how my heart feels to the industry, giving so much positive feedback and letting me do what I really enjoy doing. And I hope you stay educated and entertained through this whole process.
Well, thank you for having us on. We enjoyed it. I will say I'm the best about listening to the podcast when I'm driving. That's usually because you get to the office, you're working, and so it's those drives, especially coming over here listening to the podcast with the gentleman over in Washington. I can't even remember the name of his business, but was listening to it. He's right over here at the shed.
Tristan. Yeah.
Yes. But enjoying listening to those because, as we grow in this industry, I think these types of events where it's shed dealers, shed manufacturers, carport manufacturers, they can talk. The ability to go and have dinner with somebody and just throw ideas back and forth. It's like, wow, I didn't think of that. And I understand your competition. I mean, you have direct competition across you. They're selling a shed, I'm selling a shed, but we're not enemies.
Yeah.
We're wanting to sharpen each other so that we can sell a product and in the end give the customer a great experience.
That's great. I don't know any better way to end it than that. A rising tide indeed lifts all boats, and we are our brother's keeper, and the best we can do is watch out for one another try and lift everybody up through this process, and remember that God is sovereign, and He is in charge of all that we do, regardless of what our silly attempts are. I know that you guys are men of faith. Could I just call on one of you to pray sort of over the industry?
All right, let's pray then. Our dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for the opportunity to come here over the podcast and be able to express our thanks for your undivided and abundant blessings on this industry. We pray that we would always live our lives and our businesses to honor and glorify you. And we thank you for your blessings to us, Lord. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Appreciate it, guys.
Yep.
Been a blast having you on. I looked forward to it. It was well worth the wait.
Thank you.
Sir. Good luck with everything.